All right, I will call to order the Planning Commission meeting of Thursday, June 4th, 2026. If we can start with roll call, please.
Chair Dennison,
Here.
Vice Chair Simcock,
Here.
Commissioner Brennan,
Here.
Chair Commissioner Moran, and Commissioner Yu asked to be excused.
Okay. Under the agenda, I see that we have, were you at the May 21st meeting,
Yes.
Commissioner Simcock? And you were not. So we can't, so do we need to cancel the consent calendar? Because we cannot approve any of those minutes.
Chair, you can approve the May 7th meeting minute.
Commissioner Simcock was not here for that.
Oh.
It was Commissioner Yu. Okay, so I'll solicit a motion to approve the agenda exclusive of the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda exclusive of the consent calendar.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up, we have our report from the City Council Liaison. Madam Mayor.
And thank you for being here tonight, everybody. And happy birthday, belated birthday. We don't have anything to report out, just that we've been going over in the last few meetings, we've been going over different policies that you guys have looked through and different codes you guys have approved and sent forward to us. And it's been very interesting, and thank you for all of your explanation to your whole planning commission and your planning department. So that was all we have to report. We don't have anything else too much coming up. So, and I'll be happy it's summer so that I'm not rushing here every time. Sorry about that.
Not at all. Thank you. Next up is public comment. At this time, anyone wishing to speak before the Planning Commission may come forward and do so. Please state your name and address for the record. Keep your comments to no more than 15 minutes per speaker. Hearing none, we will move into the public hearing. First up is Municipal Code Text Amendment MCTA 26-02, adoption by reference of the City of Sierra Madre Objective Design Standards by adding Chapter 17.50 Objective Design Standards 2 and amending various titles of the Title 17 zoning. Does staff have a presentation?
Good evening, commissioners. Staff does not have a formal presentation. However, we do have Mr. Burns here tonight. He assisted us in the last planning commission meeting when we were going over sections 1 through 3 of the Objective Design Standards draft. We have on screen today an updated version with some of the changes that were made to the introduction and some of those sections that were reviewed previously. We can go through a brief overview of that, and then we also have Onyx Architects here as well tonight to assist us with some of those technical terms and questions that the commission may have. And then we'll go over the remaining sections, however far we get to tonight.
I think we have to finish it tonight so that it can get
Yeah.
before the council, but yeah, okay.
Some motivation. All right.
All right, and the updated version is the one that got sent out half an hour ago or so?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There's a Dropbox link in the email.
Perfect.
It's on.
Chair Dennison, nice to be with you. Vice Chair Simcock, nice to meet you. And Commissioner Brennan, nice to see you as well. Given that you all took a very thorough look through the first 3 sections last time, I'd like to just walk you through all the changes that we made in response to those. And then we'll continue on to your comments on the remaining sections of the Objective Design Standards. So all of the changes are, the red line, so to speak, is in blue. So it's a blue line, light blue line, really. So we do start here with the introduction section, which, we received direction from you on which elements that were in the previous introduction you wanted to keep. So, So that has been kept, and the rest has all been moved to an appendix. The blue changes that you'll see on this page are basically relating to the exception process that was discussed at the previous commission meeting, and kind of sort of based on the latest municipal code amendments, which we received. We have written that there. So, I don't know if you want to discuss that any further right now, but if so, I'll leave it to city attorney.
The one thing I might recommend on that first page is, it looks like there's room, is below I think it's great that you put the house scale and the block scale on that page. If we can put, I think there was a sentence or two describing what each of those was.
Sorry, is it on the first page? Okay.
Yeah. So on the far right column, there was,
just add.
I would add
Okay.
the sentence that describes the house scale and the block scale. It looks like there's room, and I think that it did a really good job of concisely describing it.
Yes, that's right. And since we refer to it later in the document, we do definitely need that. Okay.
And I know that it must have been challenging to consolidate that much information into 2 pages, so I appreciate the work that you did.
No, that's fine. Everything else is still in Appendix F, additional project background information. At this point, we haven't received direction to remove it, so it is still there. Okay, no changes in that page. So,
I'm sorry, one more thing. In the projects that are able to deviate from objective design, in the sentence, this exception process is meant for applicants whose sites has, I think it needs to be either whose site has or whose sites have.
okay, I'll find that and adjust that. Okay. Great, thank you. Okay, so on to the standards. So site planning and access. The first, so 1.6, I think there was just a note there to refer to the diagram instead of as at right or below, something like that. Under 1.7, we had a discussion about the various methods that that someone could use to ensure privacy when 2 residential facades are within 10 feet of one another. And our discussion focused here on offsetting windows and whether we could establish some kind of standard around that. So we've added letter E there, offset or stagger windows from each other. I'll say with Eric Martinez from Onyx. We looked at stipulating a minimum distance, but in reality, we think that that's going to be a minimum offset distance, rather. We think that will be quite challenging, really, especially if you have an existing building and you are building a new building on an adjacent property. It's going to be very hard to try to match that pattern from the existing building exactly and never never have a window that's within, say, 6 feet of a window on an opposing building. So we just left it at just offset or stagger. And then through further discussion, we also thought that there should be some other options available as well to help builders kind of deal with the situation. So you see there added to B, permanent roll-down blinds, and added to a new letter D, which is insetting the window or adding projecting architectural features that would create privacy.
Any questions? I think that's an elegant solution. Thank you.
Good. Okay, so on to section 2, building modulation articulation. On this page here, we remove the step back, the minimum 10 feet if a step back was provided. So that's been eliminated. And then on this page, okay, so 2.8 there now says, minimum of 1 variation in wall plane depth within a block scale zone for every 50 feet of facade length along the street. This is in response to your overall comments about length, width, and depth, and it not being clear in all circumstances, what dimension is referred to by the length, what dimension is referred to by the width, what dimension is referred to by the depth. We tried a few different ways of trying to solve this. We tried to first create definitions for each of them, but I'll say actually, even though it seems like it should be very straightforward, it's really not. And so the best, we sort of arrived at the best strategy was simply to add to the text everywhere where there is a dimension referred to, and it might possibly be unclear, just add more clarifying language. So in this case, it's every 50 feet of facade length along the street. To be clear that we're talking about this direction as you're looking at a building from the street, not that direction, or back from the street. We did provide a backstop definition of the word depth in the definitions as well, but honestly, the definition of length and width was sort of there were too many different permutations of when it would refer to one thing and when it would refer to another thing, so we did not add definitions for those. But hopefully the changes that we've made throughout here will make it clear what direction we are talking about. So you'll see that as we go through. 2.9a is another one of these, right? So it's instead of each wall plane variation shall have a minimum depth of 2 feet, each wall plane variation shall project or recess a minimum of 2 feet from the adjacent wall plane. Letter C is another, I think it was not mentioned by you, but it's another clarification of what we are referring to in terms of the height of minimum wall plane, the minimum height of wall plane variations. And then 2.9e, this is a suggestion from you, Commissioner Brennan. This was about the standard that said that we wanted a correspondence between wall plane breaks on the exterior and the interior program of the building to avoid sort of oddly shaped interior spaces within a building, and just to have more cohesive design overall. But we just changed it to the new objective standard here, which is at least 50% of wall plane variations shall be located where an interior wall dividing interior spaces intersects the exterior wall. Okay, 2.12 is also length with depth clarifications there. 2.13 is just a reference. 2.14 is also a length with depth thing. 2.15 was directed by you to state that third-story building elements shall be located more than 40 feet away from any public street and have no horizontal dimension longer than 45 feet. You all wanted the reference to the code, to the RHO and R320 and R330 code removed from there. And I clarified here that this should apply, rather than applying citywide, this really should apply within house scale zones. I know that definitely that that standard would be a constraint if applied to the RHO zone, which I had worked on previously. So clarified there for all house scale zones. So in the zones where it's permitted and where the third story is permitted, and in the zones where a third story is not permitted, if for some reason there is a third story that's constructed, it would be subject to this standard.
That would only be for, the only way to get to a third story would be if it was low cost, right? Yeah, okay.
Okay, so C there at the top, 216C, and by the way, we'll change. I'm sure the text will move a little bit when we when we finish this, but this was related to your comment about when you have an adjacent wall plane and you're using a balcony to, create that wall plane difference, and you wanted, if the balcony is recessed 2 feet and projected 2 feet, that would be sufficient. That would be sufficient. And so I know Eric looked at that as well. We agreed, and so we just changed that from 4 to 2 feet. If the balcony is only projecting 2 feet from the adjacent wall plane to it, means that it's also going to be recessed, because just for accessibility purposes, it's going to have a certain depth. 218 removed the flat roofs from the commercial zone. That's clear direction from you. 219 is a length with depth comment. And in section 3 here, 3.8D, are the discussion about composite materials that mimic a natural material. So yeah, we removed that standard in general. We removed removed the relationship to have, to prohibiting materials that imitate natural materials. So now this is it's just purely about material, and it prohibits vinyl siding and EPS panels. Eric, I'm not sure if there's anything else you want to say on that.
No,
why you
just
chose that.
other than, yeah, so the two materials that are identified, the reason why we are recommending to keep those on there is because over the lifetime of those materials, they're prone to cracking, fading, deterioration over time, as opposed to composite materials, as mentioned during the last meeting. And we know that composite is a more common use material nowadays for siding and those types of wall cladding.
Great, thank you.
Great. And 316 is another length, width, depth thing. So I think that is all. And now we'll turn it back over to you.
Well, don't go anywhere, because we're probably going to start asking you questions.
Yeah.
So I guess 4.7 is my first question, unless somebody has a question before 4.7.
Give me 1 minute, because I'm flipping back between notes and the presentation.
So I'll ask my question while you're...
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so, and this is actually for staff. It says outdoor dining may be permitted on public sidewalks, outside retail frontages, subject to encroachment permit and local standards. What does it take today to put a dining area out, like the one in front of the pizza place, or Emmy's, or Monsieur Crepe?
those vary in types. So the ones that are in front of Casa del Rey, Nano Cafe, those were all permitted under the Sierra Madre CARES Act and made permanent, but they're no longer things that are available. But for the outdoor dining that's in front of other places like Monster Crepe, those can be permitted through the encroachment permit, and we do have an outdoor dining program for that.
Okay, so it's just basically you commit to keeping the area clean and you get a permit.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Just one, one small formatting suggestion. In section 4, I noted, for instance, 4.6 references specific frontage types in the table, which is clearly appropriate to me. But then 4.2 puts surface parking frontage type in parentheses rather than referencing surface parking in the table. So just one suggestion is to make things consistent if they're not. So 4.2 would read, additionally, surface parking along the street frontage shall be designed in accordance with A.6 surface parking rather than putting things in parentheses. It's just
Yeah.
a formatting
Great.
clarity
That's,
thing. So
that's
there's
very,
no question about where you're looking to
Mhm.
get clarity. I
Thank
just
you.
had a question for an understanding for paragraph 4.5. Can you just explain that paragraph? I was just curious about the 10%. I was trying to wrap my head around what actually this was describing as it relates to the 10% in that limit.
yeah. So these are, these are the required driveways, the utility locations, and additionally, I think, up to 10% of the length of the building frontage along the street can, not comply with the standard.
So it's providing an exception within a de minimis range
Right.
essentially to, okay.
That's
got it.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
just, there may be, interior circulation needs or, exhaust or something that makes it.
But
Yeah,
does
well, that would be
does it
utility
also indicate
location.
if you have, say you required a break at every 50 feet, right? And you have 55 feet? So you're saying
No,
that you
'cause that
wouldn't
is
have to
not-
do a break
So
in plan?
we're saying that it doesn't need to comply with the frontage type standards, section 4 and appendix A. But this exception does not apply to section 2, the building modulation articulation.
Got it, okay. And so 4.8 is are the patio areas that were created through Sierra Madre Cares considered private property?
Those areas through Sierra Madre Care are still public property, public right-of-way. They have to sign a contract with Public Works Department in order to lease that space.
Okay, so then this would be, an example of where this would apply would be the Taylor's permit that just came before us last meeting, where that's private property. And so they'd have to have 2 to 3.5, or, oh. So it couldn't exceed 3.5 as written. So they wouldn't be able to do what they did last week.
Yes, I believe they proposed a 5-foot or 6-foot fence.
6 foot on the frontage there, and this would say that they couldn't
They
do
have
that.
to cap to, create that pedestrian interaction.
Well, didn't they get lucky? And so this applies at like that Taylor's and the proposed tea house on the eastern side of Baldwin, the former surgeon's or the former doctor's office, that when they had talked about doing that patio area out front, it would have had to have this wall. What what is the what is the logic behind having a wall there?
It's to provide some, it's for comfort of the people who are dining and also just to delineate the difference between public right-of-way and private property.
Okay, but it doesn't have, I mean, it can just be a metal fence. Doesn't have to be like a solid wall or anything. Okay.
And Chair, just as a point of clarity, these standards would apply to residential or residential mixed-use developments. So specifically, the other projects you referenced, those are commercial purely. So these standards would not be applicable there. We can reference the underlying zones code, which commercial code does have its own design standards.
So yes, thank you for reminding me that this would be mixed use. So if, is that residential above the artist studio on the west side of Baldwin? The very last building before you get to open on Baldwin, as you're north of the boulevard, is an art studio right next to Ruiz Shoes or whatever it is. The second story there is residential, is that right?
That is correct.
So that would be an example of where this would apply.
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, moving on to section 5.
I just had a cleanup suggestion, 5.1. So that the paragraph 5.1 before you get to ABC, the second to last sentence, I think, was probably maybe from an earlier draft when I know the original ODS was designed for multiple cities, but I think
Yes.
it's tailored now to Sierra Madre.
yes.
And I was looking through, and I don't think we have this reference anywhere else, but it should say established by the city of Sierra Madre, not referencing other or inferring other cities that were involved in the process.
Yeah, that was my, I didn't understand the word uniquely.
I think that's probably how it
That makes
happened to be
sense
there
yeah.
in the.
Sorry about that.
So,
Yep.
Yeah.
so so would it just be all projects containing more than 2 or more dwelling units? Because I couldn't figure out what was different between 2 or more and 4 or more. Except that one said uniquely by each city and one said by the city.
Yeah, so we said the standard says that if you're 2 or more, you have to have open space. And if you're 4 or more, you have to have common open space. But if you're a duplex, you could just have a backyard that's divided into 2 private yards.
Okay.
Do we have open space requirements for multifamily residentials?
We do have a requirement of private and common open space requirements. And I believe the aggregate amount in total required is 500 square feet per unit.
5.10 is my next one.
I have one for 5.2. It says all open spaces that count towards the minimum area requirements in 9.1. And then I went to 9.1, and that's about a
Yeah.
commercial
It's-
loading.
it's
Sorry,
updated
yeah.
in the new version.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, good catch, though.
Again, just a formatting and consistency, and I did not double check myself on this one, but 5.1A, I'm not sure that we're consistent, but I'll throw it out. I think in the appendix, we have defined terms, and I'm used to seeing defined terms capitalized in all of our, I think that's how we've done it in the past, at least. I know there's a separate ODS document, but I think pass-throughs is a defined term. I didn't go through the rest of the document to try to figure out where things were defined or not defined.
Right.
So, but I think that's historically our standard. I'm newer to the commission, but I think we tried to do that.
I think I remember it being the other way, honestly.
Is it the other
like
way?
I'm like, why isn't that capitalized? I wish it was, but
Yes.
it isn't.
It isn't, okay.
Historically, our code does not
Does not.
recapitalize
Recapitalize.
definitions.
Okay. I retract my statement.
Okay.
I've been wanting to change that forever, but.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's somewhere,
In 5.10, I think we may have reversed that. So it says that, so 25, no more than 25% of the overall common space shall satisfy, but then in house scale zones, at least 25% of the overall common open space area requirements must be met through ground level open spaces. But in the house scale zone, there would be almost no rooftops or non-ground level open space. So I think maybe that's supposed to be 75%, not 25%.
Well, you could, in house scale zones, you can still, see, if you go to the next page, you can see which open space types are allowed in house scale zones. So you can still have, balconies in house scale zones. You can have terraces, decks, rooftop decks, green roofs. So I certainly get your, certainly willing to consider changing that, but it is not, it does reflect our recommendation. So if you have 500 square feet per unit as your open space requirement, 125 square feet per unit needs to be on the ground level.
Yeah, that feels backwards to put, so what you're saying is for a 500 square foot unit, or,
Sorry, 500 square feet of open space requirement per unit.
right, so that means that you could have balcony space for 375 feet of it?
Yep. Or, if you're building at, I'm not sure that you would have this type of building here, but let's say you're in the R330 zone, you're building at 30 units an acre, maybe it's a density bonus project, you're building 40 units an acre. Could be a podium project. You could have then a podium deck for 375 square feet of that, common open space deck, and then 125 square feet on the ground in the front as a ground level courtyard.
Do that 500 feet per unit apply when there's density bonus and high density building?
I mean, they can request a concession or a waiver potentially of that standard, but yes.
Now, I think in, sorry, maybe someone can check the code while I'm at it, but this is just off the top of memory when I was working on the R320 and R330. I think there's actually there is a specific stipulation about ground floor open space in those zones, which I want to say is higher than 125 per unit. So that would apply in addition to this, so be the most restrictive,
So that is correct. It is 250 square feet per dwelling on-site open space on the ground level. 250.
Which is 50%.
I actually am not sure if that zone has the 500 square feet at all. That might be the only open space requirement for that zone.
That is the only open space requirement, 250 square feet of on-site open space on ground level for use by residents. And they may be common or private spaces. And that's exclusive to the R330 and R320 zones.
So perhaps we could change that to, if I might suggest, either refer out to the code, although I guess you didn't want to do that in the previous section. But I would suggest that we just make that harmonize 250 square feet, of open space on the ground floor. It specifically says common, or it's just total?
It
open
says
space?
common or private, I thought he said.
Common or private, okay.
Yes, open spaces may be common or private.
Got it.
Okay. So then, I think our fear of referencing code is that our codes change all the time, and then you have to update this too. I think that's why we had recommended not referencing the code. So what if we did the greater of the Sierra Madre code or whatever this is?
We can do it that way. I have a question for our consultant. I forget, is there a provision in here that says something to the effect of if there's an inconsistency between the ODS and the underlying zoning development standards that one controls over the other? Is there any kind of superseding provision like that?
I believe it's in the municipal code.
Yes, I can answer that. It's
Yeah.
part of the municipal code and the objective design standards preside.
Will control.
Yes.
So with that in mind, I'm not sure how the planning commission wants to go about editing this, knowing that it's
That this is the,
that the ODS will
governing.
control.
yeah. I mean, we can just push it up to 50%, and then it would be harmonized with the code.
I don't think so, actually, because in the R320 and R330, the overall open space requirement is 250. So 50% of that would be 125.
Would be-
Even so, it actually needs changing because it says overall common, and technically those zones do not have common open space requirements. There's only a total open space requirement.
Chair, given the complexity, I wouldn't add the additional layer of trying to harmonize different code sections. I think try to accomplish whatever it is that your intent is with this section, and if there's a conflict,
Okay, I mean,
Yeah,
my intent is more on the ground floor and less in balcony.
Intuitively, that makes sense to me as well.
right. And I just had some, when I, it's not even on that, but just reading it, it was a little confusing to me. Honestly, I had to read this one like 4 or 5 times.
Mhm.
I think it's because we start off with the thing, the space, not the zone on the first one, and then the second we add additionally, which isn't really additionally to me
Right.
because it's separately.
Yeah, right. Maybe it
in
just
house
needs to be
scale
another number.
zones. So if we could, I don't know, maybe start with, in block scale zones and house scale zones of less than 10,000 square feet, do this, and then, or just make it so they kind of mirror each other. So
Mhm.
it's just easier to read.
Yeah, I think that's right. And then what percentage do you recommend?
I would like 50. That sounds good to me if we can,
Yeah.
if we're good with doing that.
I think so.
So that would relax the current standard from R320 and R330. Because you could sort of say that R320 and R330 currently require 100%. Under the municipal code, they require 100% of the open space requirement to be met on the ground level.
Yeah, so basically, on the first part, we're saying if you have a small, that's weird, because it's a small lot or a big, giant block scale zone, then you have to have 75% on the ground, right? And then if you have a medium-sized one, we're putting 50 on the ground. It just seems kind of strange to me that if you have a really small lot, 75% has to be on the ground. Then the middle size is 50, but then the big size is 25 or 75 again. Seems like it should be a line, not a hump. Does that make sense?
I had a question for Senior Planner Wolf. Did it say ground floor? Or did it just specify common and private?
It does specify, provided on the ground level.
500,
250 square feet for R320 and R330 on the ground level. Are you asking about the R313?
so does it, no, it says that 250 on the ground level out of how much? Or it just only specifies how much have to be on the ground level?
I can read the entire thing for you. If you'd
Okay.
like. 250 square feet per dwelling unit of on-site open space shall be provided on the ground level for use by residents. Open spaces may be common or private. In order to be counted toward the open space requirement, the minimum width and length of each space shall be 10 feet. Driveways and other vehicular access areas shall not be counted toward the open space requirement.
So then if you're even just doing the minimum setback, it wouldn't count? Side yard setbacks, because it's not greater than 10 feet.
At minimum, no.
What if we just simplified this and went to something for all places? So all block scale and all house scale. Just all. Like,
For the block scale, it's sort of a different thing that we were looking at.
right, but block scale
So-
is also used on house scale if it's less than 10,000 square feet. So block scale, so we got one rule for giant and the same rule for little, but a different rule for the middle, right? I mean, that's how I read that.
So for block scale, less than 10,000 square feet, a small,
I don't think
like
We have-
one storefront on Sierra Madre Boulevard in the downtown village redevelops into mixed use. It has no limitation on rooftop decks. So all of the open space can be on a rooftop deck. Let's say somebody demolishes an entire block of Sierra Madre Boulevard and rebuilds it into a mixed-use project, more than 10,000 square feet lot, they would not be able to put they would only be able to put 25% of their open space requirement on the top level, on the rooftop deck. The rest would have to be on lower level podium spaces or on the ground.
so the 10,000 square feet or less is only block scale?
That's the intent, yeah.
Oh, I don't think that's how it reads.
I had a question, actually.
Oh,
Am I correct to assume that rooftop decks would not be possible if pitched roofs are the requirement?
We did discuss this a little bit. I don't remember if that was with you or not, or just with Lance. But I mean, it would be pretty hard. But maybe you could have a pitched roof around the edge, for example, of a yeah.
Is the requirement for the entire roof to be a pitched roof, or pitched roof visible from public right of way? Because yeah, there are mansard roofs that have the sloped roof on the exterior facade, but then you transition to flat roof as you make your way further in.
I don't think we have a requirement for pitched roofs. I think we removed the requirement to have flat roofs.
I think we do still have the pitched roof requirement in house scale zones.
Oh, for house scale, okay.
So that'd be going back to the
Yeah.
2.18, formerly requiring flat roofs.
Yeah, it's 217. New buildings and house scale zones shall have hipped or gable roofs. Doesn't specify if it's the entire building or not.
Well, but I don't know that that makes it inconsistent, right? Because you said that that patios and balconies and stuff like that will count towards the space, right?
Will count towards the,
The minimum open space.
right.
And the part about house scale doesn't say anything about rooftop decks. Rooftop spaces, sorry. So I don't know that that's inconsistent. Or am I missing it?
I agree with you. I think it was just the conversation focused on rooftop decks that I got concerned about.
Yeah. Yep.
To resolve the issue that Commissioner Simcock pointed out, can we start this paragraph with in block scale zones, top of building rooftop spaces?
or yeah, in block scale zones.
To just
on
provide
lots of
context.
10,000 square feet or less. Let's
Yeah.
if we limit it first to what small subset that is, I think it would read a lot better.
So are you then proposing that above 10,000 square feet. There is no limit as to how much of the building rooftop spaces.
That's what this is.
It's supposed to be the reverse. So there's no limit under 10,000 square feet in block scale zones.
Right, I read it poorly first time, reading it on lots smaller than 10,000 square feet and in block zones. I kind of took it that way. I know it doesn't really read that, but that's just how it stuck in my mind.
So the new version would read, in block scale zones for lots of greater than 10,000 square foot.
Or do we just want to
Yeah,
incorporate that to
right.
everything? In block scale zones? So if we have a huge, or over 10,000 square foot, just say we have a 20,000 square foot lot downtown, do we want them to be able to,
Have to put 75% of
On
their
the
open
ground.
space on the ground?
I kind of like the open space on the ground.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
So I also want to note that for the block scale zones, this does not establish a requirement as currently written to put open space on the ground.
Yeah, sorry, it doesn't say on the ground.
It just says not on the top level.
It's
Oh, it
balcony,
could be on-
balconies.
So you modulate the
Yeah,
height,
yeah.
you know. Could be between the fourth, the rooftop on top of the fourth level and then podium on top of the first floor at the second level, et cetera. So if you want to require some to be on the ground level, you can absolutely do that. That would be a different standard than what we've
This,
talked about here.
so we keep this one,
Hmm.
well, I think we keep this to rooftop space, and then if we want to make a ground level open space, we should do that as a separate one. So we can limit rooftop, like this first half does. The second half doesn't limit anything, it just said it has to be through ground level open space.
Another question I had, is there any limit on what constitutes, in terms of size, what constitutes open space? So like if something is like 1 foot by 1 foot, hypothetically, and it abuts the unit, could that count toward open space hypothetically?
To count for open space under this standard, it has to meet the criteria of one of the open space types that are in appendices B or C.
So it's,
And each of those has minimum dimensions
that has been, okay.
associated.
So if we want to harmonize this with our code, we have to get rid of the word common open space area requirements. The word common, because in our code, it said it could be private or public, private or common.
That is correct.
So right now, there's no common requirement.
There
Under the
is a
code.
common requirement for R313 zones. 500 square feet per dwelling unit of on-site open space shall be provided for use by residents. Such open space may be located on the ground floor or above, and may be met with a combination of common open space and private open space. In order to be counted toward the open space requirement, the minimum width and length of each space shall be 10 feet for common spaces and 5 feet for private spaces, and then similar driveway and vehicular access limitations.
So since it doesn't specify the minimum amount that has to be common, there's no requirement for common, so this means nothing.
Yeah, I would certainly suggest that we strike the word common. And then I think the question is just how much, so for house scale zones, right? Just thinking about house scale zones for a moment. Then the question is how much do we want to require? So if it's 250 square feet, which is what our 320 and our 330 require, and we just want to also apply that to our 313, then I would just say in house scale zones, at least 250 square feet of open space per unit shall be located on the ground floor.
I think I'm good with that.
Yeah.
In 5.11,
Sorry, do we get direction on the block scale for 510?
I thought block scale we were fine with 25%, because it's rooftop.
Right. Do we want all block scale or just the 10,000 square foot or smaller?
I think all.
I think all, I think we get rid of the 10, in block, it just makes it simple. In block scale zones, no more than 25% of a overall open space can be rooftop.
Commissioner Brennan, you have an opinion? Good?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Should that be a separate, should that become 5.11? They're pretty different now. Or do we want to keep those grouped together in one? Because now we're saying in block scale zones, no more than 25% could be rooftop space. In house scale zones, 25, at least 25 must be ground level.
I'm in favor of separating them as well,
I
as
think
you
they would
suggest.
make more sense separate.
Well, great news. I think 5.12 goes away, so we'll end up with the same amount of page. I didn't hear any private open space requirements in the underlying codes. Is that correct, Senior Planner Wolf?
The R313 zone has an option for private open space, but it can be met by a combination of private and common open space. So it can be entirely met by common open space.
Okay, so before we talk about that one, in 5.11, just formatting or consistency, we say the discretion of the Planning and Community Preservation Director. I think usually in the code we refer to the position as director. Do we want to, and I thought I saw director other places, so if we can just be consistent.
Yeah,
Great.
just another minor thing on there. I don't think we really need the he, she. We could just put they determine.
Sure.
And then just, change determines to determine.
And then, since the underlying code doesn't have anything to do with private open space, should we just strike all of that paragraph titled private open space?
Or no, just no D.
Well, I think it's a question
Oh,
if you
well,
want to.
Maybe so, okay. I guess that works too. Yeah, I just read it the other way. That's fine.
Sorry.
Unless, sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
for 512, it's just a question of do you want to have any design standards for private open spaces. So
I see what you're saying.
then, you know, you could just strike the word private, and you could say all private open spaces used to satisfy open space requirements shall comply with the minimum standards of
Yep,
blah, blah, blah.
that makes more sense. Thank you.
Joshua, are there no, I guess that would cover it, yeah. Even if there are private open space requirements in block scale zones, that would still cover it.
I think we're covered there.
6 is my next, 6.3 is my next one. Can you help me understand what 6.3 is trying to get at?
Yeah, 6.3 is, it's trying to encourage, you know, individual unit entries that are located along a pedestrian network connected to the street. So what it is not allowing is, you know, ground floor units being accessed through an interior hallway, double loaded corridor on the ground floor.
But it says internal pedestrian walkway. So wouldn't that mean that you can take a walkway to the internal pedestrian walkway and then access it?
Yeah, well, it says the intent is outdoor, so landscaped internal to the site. So maybe
Within the perimeter of.
like a courtyard or a sort of, let's say a little entry, you know, entry walkway that then would feed each of the units rather than just into a door, you know, into an interior hallway into your unit.
Okay, so it's just the idea of coming through a doorway into
I
it.
mean, it's really about activating the public realm, you know, and having individual units connected to the public realm. This is not a standard, I believe, that we had in other cities. So this is something that we just, you know, thought we saw in Sierra Madre and sort of commensurate with the sort of village type character here, but you know, it can absolutely be removed. Mhm. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to understand it. I think it's fine. I don't have any problem with it. I was just trying to understand what we were solving for.
Yeah, I think landscaped works. It makes it not an interior, I think, right? I mean, I guess you get landscape.
In 6.4, I think we should say unlocked rather than open, because I don't think people who are running their air conditioner want their doors open during business hours. I think we're trying to get unlocked doors.
Mhm.
Is that what that's supposed to read?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so primary sidewalk entrances to public serving commercial uses shall be unlocked for the entire duration that the commercial facility is open.
I had a question about 6.5E, unless we have something before that.
For all of 6.5, it felt like this was for non-house scale. Because I'm trying to understand how you would have more than one of these in a house scale?
You want to take that one?
So let me just briefly go through each one of these. So change in wall plane, recess projection, minimum of 3 feet, wall articulations such as pilasters or cornices, trim elements, or additional painted or relief detail around the entry. So I think, so let me go on. Projecting elements above the entry, projecting element above the entry, a minimum projection of 2 feet from the wall plane and a minimum width of the size of the entry door. Break in the building massing or a portal enabling visibility into the courtyard that provides access to units, transparent windows or openings enabling the visibility into interior spaces, a minimum of 50% within the 20 feet of the entrance, a landing deck stoop within a minimum depth of 6 feet and minimum width of 8 feet. So for house scale, I think really comes down to the change in wall plane and also the wall articulation. So I think those two could easily and feasibly be met with a house scale. Those could be seen as either trim around the door opening or reveals in a stucco, cornice detail above a door opening or a common access way. So these entrances need to present this level of either it's a niche where a common or an opening occurs, and that's where your wall projection or recession happens.
Chair.
Maybe I'll just add to it. I think the porch frontage type, for example, that would, if you just meet the porch frontage type, you're already complying with C and F, probably.
Yeah, I guess if we just have a recessed area for a door, then you're only A, right? Or are we gonna double count that? Because you're recessed, there's also a projecting element because your door is recessed? I'm trying to. Because these are designed to look like houses, right? That's the house scale.
Yeah, I think so for the recess element, that's the way you're describing it is correct. I think what we might need to edit is the wording on C, because really this is mainly for projections of, for example, a Spanish-style building that has an arch or an arched opening that protrudes out and creates a mass, kind of these pilasters or columns that are created to emphasize a Spanish colonial revival style, for instance. So it's more focused on that kind of protrusion rather than the wall being recessed or in that instance. But I think, yeah, the two are kind of overlapping in that sense. You could accomplish the two. It's just that one is referencing a minimum of 3 feet, while the other one is a minimum of 2 feet. So if there's a way to combine these to address both, then you could certainly do that.
It's really a question for staff. Do you think that you'll have a hard time having residential units that comply with more than one of these? Or you'll be able to find your way to making at least two of those happen?
Chair, I think to meet two or more of the following design element, I think it's doable. You know, with the plan change and decorative item, that's what we're currently asked for.
Okay, great.
Gargoyles protruding.
What's that?
Saying gargoyles, maybe.
Yeah, I know, and exactly what he was describing on the Spanish colonial is what we prohibit up at the, that's prohibited design for,
Meadows.
not the Meadows, for, I always want to call it One Carter, but
Stonegate.
And if we could also, you know, a lot of the entrances, what we typically like to see is a shelter over the entry. So an awning, a canopy. So if we want, we could change the word to specifically specify canopy or awning over the entry. Then that could kind of,
if staff is comfortable with the way it's worded, I was just wanted to make sure that they wouldn't have any trouble making those findings.
I was gonna. Can we go back to 6.4?
Yes.
That the way that read, that reads more like a use restriction than a design restriction. Because it's not about where you're placing the door or whether to have a door. It's how you use the door when you have a door, is how I read it. I just thought so.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's true. It is a use restriction, I guess, but you know, it is something that we confront constantly. When you put in requirements for commercial uses to front on the sidewalk and have the parking behind, then the users just put the emergency exit on the sidewalk and pedestrians have to walk all the way around to the parking lot and go in.
I see.
Yeah, which is not, defeats the whole purpose of having pedestrian-oriented retail.
That's interesting. So,
I wonder if it makes sense to just phrase it in the negative, to say you shall not do what you just described.
or you say that the primary entrance will be on the, what's the phrase we've been
Street.
using? The primary street
Sidewalk.
or.
Yeah,
Because-
I think
because then it'll
that's-
get picked up by where the code says you have to have the building the doors unlocked, right? Because that's a different code, isn't it? That's not building.
So we could, yeah. How would we phrase that? We'd call it some kind of frontage?
I mean, I think actually in section 1, there's already a standard that talks about the primary entrance. Primary entries must be,
The primary entrance to all buildings adjacent to a public street shall be visible from the sidewalk and directly connected via pedestrian pathway. It's 1.1.
yeah.
So that's already saying what it is. So the question then becomes, and I don't know what code governs having doors unlocked.
I don't think we have, do we have such a code? I don't think so. That sounds like a fire code.
Sounds like you're a safety
requirement.
code, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd leave that to the fire department because that sounds like something fire would be, something that would exist under the fire code.
Okay.
So, would it be prudent to say open as in transparent and not obscured?
I think that's already in there based on the transparency guides, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, the intent is here that it be accessible to the public, accessible as a public entryway.
Commissioner Brennan, I think you had some questions?
It was actually to that point, 6.5E, the portion in parens, and maybe it's just me, but I felt like where it says a minimum of 50%, I didn't know actually what a minimum of, what the 50% was. What is it? So
Yeah.
we're trying to have transparency right into the interior space. in the entryway, but 50% of what? I was trying to
Yeah,
see.
it's 50%, 50% of the facade,
50%
the
of
ground
this.
floor facade.
Uh-huh.
So it defined in the same way in other parts of this, in the frontage standards where it talks about a minimum transparency. And there's a definition, in the definitions for that. The intent here is to use that same definition here.
And is that clear without any other, maybe it's just me.
I mean, it may just need
So
to
just
say a
if
minimum
it's-
50% transparency.
If you had the question, I think we should clarify it, right?
Yeah, I would,
A minimum of 50% transparency of the facade within,
Okay.
thank you.
Just one minor thing I just gotta make a note of. Like sometimes we use, there's a couple things. Sometimes we use feet, and then sometimes we use FT, just to make it the same. The only other thing I noticed like that, and again, this is just kind of an overall document, is with the Oxford comma. So sometimes sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. It's just to the document would look so much better if it was just consistent. I'm not going to say use it or not. Just yeah, because I don't think FT's actually. You have to put a, at least in what I write, you have to put abbreviate with a period on FT.
Okay.
So I would just spell it all out.
While we're on the point of consistency, the numbers as well. Some numbers are the numeric 2, and others are written out like the word 6 or 8.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything under 10, I think, is supposed to be
Right.
spelled out, right?
Yeah, that's what it should be. So.
I had a point on 6.6, and I'm not sure that it's an issue, but I think in terms of providing the guidance to an applicant, I think it jumped out here to me a lot too because there's 2 shall statements. So the first 2 statements are shall, and then when it gets to the end of the paragraph, it says entries can be accessed. So it's an option, but it's not a requirement. But I didn't know if we had that in other instances where we're defining a standard and we're
I
saying
see.
something shall be. And I'm okay with it, but I didn't know if we actually had that in other places, or was this the only spot where we're actually giving what I'm reading as sort of an option or a clarifying point to the applicant potentially.
Right, yeah, I think it would be clearer to say entries shall be accessed from either an alley, courtyard, or side street
Yeah.
for one of, or from one of the following.
Okay.
One other consistency point, percent. Sometimes it's written as the symbol percentage, and sometimes it's written out the word percent.
I, sorry, I'm trying to flip and back and forth, and I'm not doing a very good job of it because it's on my computer, not printed. But in 6.5F, I would ensure that we're not conveying different standards than we have listed in the exhibit for stoop. I don't know that those are all consistent. I don't think landing or deck have exhibits of their own, but stoop does. So I would just make sure
Right.
that that doesn't.
Yeah, so
that's
those actually are larger than the stoop, than the minimums for the stoop. It's not larger than the maximums, but I think the intent was to make it more pronounced, but that's probably more of a block scale, bigger, like thinking about an entry, like a lobby entry or something into multiple units. So if you do, if we are thinking of the house scale zones and, you know, just single unit entries, I agree, just complying with the standard. The frontage standard is sufficient. So,
Yeah, I guess, and it's just one of the many that you have to incorporate. So if you don't incorporate that, you find another one. So I guess it's not that important. So I withdraw my question. 6.8, security features. Is a privacy screen in the house scale considered a privacy feature? Because it says security gates, and I think of those privacy screens as kind of gates, but I just wanted to get clarity.
like a screen on the window or?
No, they're I think they're called security screens. I don't know what they're called, but they're like reinforced metal. It's not like a screen door. It's like super thick. And it has a lock on it so that you can leave the door open and nobody can come in. They usually have a deadbolt, and they have a metal frame that reinforces it. And so is that considered a security gate?
The intent here is really is really about commercial uses, some mixed use buildings here. So we might just want to say that. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah.
The next one, I think, might cover that, because the metal door.
Right, so I don't know, sorry, go ahead.
So, so I've seen commercial projects, again, for security reasons during non-operation hours have roll-down security bars that come down, or some that close horizontally, but they have the mechanism that it hides into on the exterior of the wall. And I'm not sure if that was kind of what you were alluding to.
I totally get that in the commercial, but this applies to everything because it's not restricting just block scale,
Right.
right? So this would
Right.
be on the house scale as well.
Mhm.
So if we have a nice triplex that all fronts on the boulevard, none of them would be able to have one of these doors.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. Again, yes, the intent was not to have those types of security doors on exterior units, exterior doors of units, but if the city feels that they're okay having those on residential developments, then we could either omit this.
Thoughts?
I get the point of, although honestly, it was the first thing I took off my house when I bought it. So.
I was gonna say, it doesn't feel very architecturally progressive in today's standards. It feels very 1970s or something. So but I'm not an architect and I have none of those qualifications, but it doesn't
will-
feel very forward-looking. It feels backward-looking when I look at that.
I will say I have yet to see a very architectural, interesting security gate like that on a building. The only ones I've seen is for gates to courtyards or gates to kind of open spaces that are more ornate for Spanish style, for example, but not for the main entry to the door.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine leaving that. It was just a thought I had.
Mhm.
They'll probably get added aftermarket anyway, not when it's built.
Right.
Permanent security bars. We have at least 2 or 3 jewelers in town. And they have permanent bars so people don't break in. And we have a pharmacy in town that got broken into and they put up permanent metal bars. So are those would be excluded? Or do those
Well,
not
if
count
they're
because they're
grandfathered
inside?
leases. They would be excluded, yeah, I think. They, yeah, obviously, this would have to be a mixed-use project, right, where this would.
The intent was not to have it exposed on the outside, but I'm sure having it on the inside, so we could word it to prohibit it from the exterior. Permanent security bars, because I understand for those types of businesses, they do want a level of security. So if they're able to put it on the inside of the window,
Is that on the, I'm trying to picture those two places. I can't picture the bars. Is it in the back?
I think,
Or is it-
no, it's his front door on the jeweler. I almost said next to Domino's, but
Yeah, no, I
You know
the
where I'm at.
jeweler.
Yeah,
I just can't picture the door.
yeah. And then the pharmacist, after the pharmacy got broken into, they have the retractable,
Oh, they have
Yeah.
those now.
those. Yeah, but it's inside the glass. So I think if we say inside, we're clear there. The same way that people can put up drapes over their transparent windows that we're trying to get.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes much more sense.
Okay. Seven two B is my next one. Is this just a standard that people use? Is there some logic behind it? Why would we allow any of it to be
Oh, yeah.
pointed up?
Well, it's hard to it's hard to determine that there is zero, that you cannot see any light from an exterior light, even if it's as it looks in the diagram. So I think that was the idea there. Like, it's just trying to be, when people write a simpler standard of, all light shall be directed downward, I mean, is it really 100%, effective? Not sure about that.
Is this the standard, the 1 to 3 foot candles? Is that like a standard somewhere? And how would we, is that an enforceable number with like a machine, like a meter? Is there a foot candle meter?
yeah. So typically with new construction residential, there's a photometric diagram that's made for the project to ensure that light is emitting on pathways to entrances, and so the electrical engineer will have to develop that. And typically, the minimum requirement is 1 foot candle. as far as our research goes, we've determined.
I mean, if this is a standard, or I tried to figure it out and I got lost. So if this is just a standard calculation or a standard procedure, I don't measure foot candles often.
I guess I was trying to also understand the last sentence of 7.1, all such exterior lighting shall be equipped with automatic dusk to dawn control systems. How's that different than 7.3 that says all exterior lighting shall use those same things?
I understood 7.3 to be differentiated, such as motion detectors.
I guess
So
7.1 is lighting along walkways, and so it sounds like it's subject to the overarching exterior lighting, and so I didn't know why we needed it, that same sentence, two places.
yeah, 7.3 just elaborates on the 7.1 requirement of since they are since they will be providing the automatic shut off and turn on light during dusk, half hour after dusk, half hour before dusk, half hour after dawn, then those systems need to include a sensor, timer, motion detector, or equivalent technology. So it's one thing to install it and have it in place. It's another thing to require its automatic system and how those need to work. So we could take it off of 7.1 and just keep it on 7.3 to avoid redundancy, but
Well,
that's the intent.
I guess there's,
Well,
to Senior Planner Wolf's point, motion detectors and equivalent technologies are not included for walkways as written. So there's a conflict because they are exterior lighting. So 7.3 almost expands what 7.1 does, right?
Right.
So, and I'm not opposed to lighting walkway not having motion detectors or equivalent technologies. So maybe 7.3 says exclusive of lighting along walkways. Well, but I mean, they're almost identical. Because it's exterior walkways, driveways, building entrances, and parking surfaces. I don't know. Do we want to just strike that last sentence? Or what do the commission think?
On the last sentence of 7.1, is that the one you want to strike?
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah, because I don't think walkways would be they would go off if nobody was walking.
Can I ask a question,
makes
though? I'm just wondering, is this section titled correctly? So when I read 7.2, so we have standards, and then it says lighting along walkways. And the way it reads right now, lighting along walkways applies to 7.1, 2, 3, and 4, using that subheading. But I'm not sure that that's the intent. Seems to me that 7.2 is a general purpose, not specific just to walkways. Is that
Exterior
correct?
lighting.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, why don't we change,
The title
that's
there.
that's a great catch. Just change it to exterior lighting.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, because you could have exterior lighting and still have landscape lighting, I think. It's kind of a subset of exterior lighting, but I think that would be all right. or should 7.6 really be part of exterior light, the new exterior lighting? And then we have,
I think we might just be able
Design
to
and lighting
eliminate
after that.
all 3 titles from this, subtitles from this.
oh, there we
Page.
go.
'Cause it's all called
Yeah,
exterior
it's all
lighting.
about
Yeah.
You
exterior
don't need
lighting.
any of the
Sounds
subtitles.
great. I do have maybe it's my not understanding of landscape lighting, but in here we mentioned that the 4 feet in height. Is landscape lighting pointing down? Is it pointing up? I think,
I assumed it was a light post in a garden.
yeah, okay, so if we go to, so it says the fixtures shall not exceed 4 feet in height here, but if we go to the next page, that, what I would think is kind of a landscape light right there is 52 inches off the ground, or 54. Is that not a landscape light?
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I could see how that could be interpreted as a landscape light since it's lighting some level of landscaping in your front yard.
Right, that's,
Yeah, the intent for that's going back to 7.6 is lighting that's uplighting or downlighting, uplighting towards landscape features such as trees, in a courtyard or in a front yard space, and or downlighting onto walkways such as step lighting, those sorts of lighting. And typically we would want those at a too high because then
Right,
it
right.
defeats the purpose of.
I think of landscape lighting
Mhm.
as maybe even less than that, like, I don't know, 2 feet. Honestly, like, like even those, when Home Depot sticks, solar ones that you stick in the ground, I don't know, I think they're a couple feet or so.
So as you described it though, like uplighting for oak trees. So are they saying
Right,
that you can't put, I mean, oaks are, like people light their oaks.
right, my lights are about this high off the ground.
Some people run them all the way up the tree so that they just get certain areas of the oaks.
Oh, okay.
And so I guess is that what this is trying to prohibit?
But that's not a lighting fixture, right?
Are you talking about like the twinkle lights?
No,
or,
I'm talking about,
Yeah.
like actual light that's
yeah,
mounted up higher on the tree and
yeah.
illuminating up. Yeah, I mean, it's to keep it, away from these high places to prevent these, kind of public eye visuals of spotlights.
I don't
and-
think we're supposed to do those uplights anyway, right? For one of our codes, the lighting, the black sky or whatever it is, right?
I was wondering about that.
It's tricky. I would interpret landscape lighting to mean any light fixtures affixed onto the ground within landscaping features, different from the one you saw in section 8 where it's affixed to part of a wall. And yes, in certain areas we outright prohibit new uplighting. That applies to the one Carter design standards. In other cases, it's more gray area because
I see what you did there.
the tree the tree itself can serve as a form of shade to the light,
Yeah.
preserving dark sky.
Oh, okay.
I don't have much. Do you care? Do you want something to change there?
No,
I did read
That's
within the planting areas. And that kind of made me think that it was,
located within, yeah, I think I just saw along pedestrian pathways. And that's just what the picture looks like to me. I know it's a different section, but I read that and then I looked at the next page and went, well, that's not that. But I'm fine with it. you want, if we just call that, it's not a landscape light, then I'm good. Takes my whole thing away.
7.4C, animated or flashing lighting. I assume that this lighting is for permanently, this is to describe permanently attached in fixtures, like not holiday lights?
Right, right. So these are, yeah, permanently applied lights to walls or projection lights that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then internal illumination of fascias, walls, roofs, awnings, or other, is that like an uplight inside something?
So internal illumination. So for example, on your roof eave, if you install lights that are mounted on the underside of that eave and flashing that light, even if it's down, it's creating this high up light that's not encouraged, just because that starts to glare onto people's windows or other neighbors.
And that's what internal means, is that it's under the eave?
Yeah, yeah. So that's the way we intended. Yeah. So to avoid light fixtures that are tucked under.
Okay. Having come out the right side of the 80s, I feel like we could get away from the neon lighting strips as an accent. I mean, that could be just as annoying as any of the other lights. What do you commissioners think about that?
Yeah, we're not, it's not like we have a 25-story building coming in with, you know.
I would suggest striking D.
Yeah, let's,
I'd be fine with that.
yeah, I'm good with just colored lighting shall not be permitted.
Okay.
Do we want to be specific? I know we're talking about colored, and then we have colored temperature in the next section.
Oh,
Yeah, that's why, yeah, color is, because we use color as a specification of what's okay, so. Since we specify
Yeah.
what range it has to be in, we could get rid of colored, because it wouldn't be in that range, right? Because Kelvin's referred to color.
yes, so it was 3,000 Kelvin too, right?
Yeah.
I was just trying to get that, what color that is. Yeah, so that's kind of a little bit white, yellow.
Nice warm
Yeah.
Okay.
daylight. Okay, so we're good with striking D altogether?
It's daylight, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know if we're, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's good.
That was all I had in lighting. Anybody have anything else?
No, that's it.
Walls and fences? I didn't really have anything.
I had some for 8.4, but it was the same thing as the one before. I do have, oh, I do have one for 8.6. So, and this is gonna drag into the next area of landscaping, is we have 8.6 that says all fencing materials should be constructed of treated wood. I think most of town is going to be subject to the CAL FIRE restrictions for the zero territory Are we trying to include any of that in here, or are we not? You know, so like having any combustibles within 5 feet of the home. So if we're suggesting to put wood, it's treated, I am assuming that means like pressure treated, not fire rated treated.
So I think that your exterior fence can be wood?
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't
it's
come
5 feet
within
from the
5
house.
feet.
Like,
And-
yeah, so if like you have a garage gate or a gate like next to the house, that's supposed to be not combustible soon.
So fire code will always trump
Okay,
our codes.
okay. Cool. Then I have nothing else on that.
So I don't know if it would help to, because that standard is not really highlighting fire rating treatment or
Right,
pressure
no,
treated
it doesn't.
treatment. It's more about the aesthetics of the.
Right, it doesn't do it, and when we get to landscaping, that doesn't do it at all, because we're kind of suggesting plants right next to structures and things like that. But if that's gonna be overwritten by fire code, I don't think we would need to try and stress out and put that in here, so I'm good with that.
Okay.
One very minor suggestion, 8.3, the last sentence just reads a little bit awkwardly because of the way the sentence structure is. The decorative word at the end of the sentence is kind of dangling. I think what it should be is something like the fencing shall be visually transparent, comma, decorative, and appropriate to the context and needed access controls, period. This is moving that word. It's just, it gets kind of odd.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then I noticed on 8.5, and this might be okay because I just looked at how we talk about the applicable reviewing authority.
Yeah,
It's
I
the
didn't like
first
that
time-
either.
It's the first time we use that language. It seems to be in the appendix when it talks about maybe it's planning commission, but it seemed a little bit unclear, whereas in other sections it was clear that it was the director or what have you. So I just didn't know if we should be seeking more clarity in the text there.
So I guess the one reason here in recent history for applicable reviewing authority would be when we do certificates of appropriateness and historical homes. So we were going to approve the fencing type of that home on Baldwin. So that would be when it's not code or director driven, but us. I don't love the wording of it, but I don't have a good alternative. Do you have a change to suggest?
No, it's again just seeking consistency and clarity. So
Yeah.
I think that's okay.
Yeah, it's like, I had something we got rid of vinyl siding in one place, but we got vinyl fences here. But I don't know, it's not that real big of a deal to me. I don't know, I'm fine with that.
Curious
Yeah, I
if
mean,
we're even allowed to
alternatively-
use vinyl fencing. Because it burns pretty well.
Well, there's the fire thing again, yeah.
Yes, vinyl fencing is allowed, not encouraged, but allowed.
That's,
Right, yeah, it's not permitted in 8.6.
yeah, that's where we get into the EPS walls and stuff too. There's other bad things than expanded polystyrene as far as fire code. But I guess we just leave that to fire code instead of trying to make an exhaustive list of highly combustible materials that you can side your house with.
Well, I mean, if we remove vinyl from the siding, do we want to remove it from fencing as well?
I think I see a lot of vinyl fences, honestly.
The way it's worded is that vinyl fencing is not permitted
It is not permitted?
under these objective standards. Yes. Shall not be
Oh,
permitted.
well, then there's a thing, then we should go back up, because it's
No, it says shall not exceed. It's a,
vinyl. Well, wait. Oh, I see. Wait. So we can have a vinyl
PVC post.
PVC
Oh.
post.
you can have vinyl posts, but not fencing.
Oh, that's kind of silly.
Do you see a lot of vinyl fencing?
I don't know. I see a lot of white fences that look new, and I don't go, touch them to see what
Yeah.
they're made from, honestly.
So we just need to align the two. I don't have. I mean, if we're gonna get rid of,
Strike that.
strike it from,
I would strike it here
8.6.
just because,
or from,
If we can't have vinyl fencing, then we shouldn't have vinyl posts.
yes.
okay.
Yeah. You wanna add anything to it?
So strike vinyl PVC from 8.4A. Okay. Okay. So 9.1. Maybe I'm misunderstanding this, but it says non-residential uses. Aren't these all necessarily at least mixed use?
Right, the projects which contain non-residential uses, so mixed-use projects.
Right, but this says loading areas shall be permitted only for development projects with non-residential uses.
That exceed 10,000 square feet of total floor area.
But none of these are non-residential uses. Right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess we could say it differently, but it's intended to be, yeah. And loading areas shall be permitted only for mixed-use projects with a non-residential component of, excluding office uses. I don't know. I got to figure out what to do with the excluding office uses there, but
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to understand.
yeah,
By definition, to show up in here as an objective design standard, it's mixed use, right?
correct. Yeah.
I'm fine if you want to take that back and staff wordsmith that one, if you guys don't want to recommend language now. So in 9.3, I had a question as to what a parking lot is. Is it considered a public right-of-way?
No. Public right-of-way is public street.
Or an alley would be that same thing.
An alley would be the same thing.
Okay.
That's true.
But if,
An alley would be public right-of-way.
but as long as it can't, they don't have, if I'm reading this correctly, the only time you have to put up a wall around your trash enclosure is if it can be seen from a public right-of-way. So if you put it behind a building, you can just
Right.
set it there. You don't have to have any kind of enclosure around it.
That's what the standard says, yeah.
Is that consistent with the underlying code?
We can look into this, but I don't recall there being specifically trash enclosure screening requirements for multifamily.
Chair, is your thought that someone's going to place it behind their mixed-use development within a parking lot and it'd be visible from the parking lot? Is that the concern?
I didn't know if we required shelters around trash enclosures today,
Mm-hmm.
because this means you don't have to. And so I didn't know the underlying code, if it said you did, and this was giving you more latitude to not enclose it.
So there are screening requirements for refuse, parking areas, refuse storage, mechanical equipment, and the like shall be screened by some combination of walls, plantings, or earthworks.
Okay, so then this would say you don't have to do that anymore.
I was just going to bring up that some mixed-use projects or even residential projects, they tend to locate the trash bins within the parking area, and in most cases, if they go the inexpensive route, then they put bollards in front of it, but you're still able to see them.
Right. Which it sounds like our underlying code today does not allow.
So if we just got rid of the from public rights of way, and it just said fully screened on all sides by a solid fence, that would
Is that consistent with
it always?
the code, Senior Planner Wolf? I think it said a couple of other things.
It's not entirely one-to-one because it does include other more unsightly features, but it does not include screening by fence. It includes screening by walls specifically. Does not mention fencing of any kind, but does say combination of walls, plantings, or earthworks.
I don't think we can take fence out, because you have to have a gate or something,
Well,
right? I mean,
If we get rid of 9.3 altogether, then the underlying code would govern. 9.3 is giving it more latitude. That's what I'm saying.
My concern in that regard would be that our underlying code is not quite objective because it's quite vague, in my opinion. I'll read it. It's specifically under section 17.28.080, Standards of Development, subsection, or I should say paragraph F9, screening. Parking areas, refuse storage, mechanical equipment, and the like shall be screened by some combination of walls, plantings, or earthworks. It lacks in what height and to what degree and what openings may be allowed, such as for driveway openings. It
Okay.
also-
So I guess we have two ways to go. We can go with 9.3 so that we're protecting them from the public right-of-way, and then go back and fix the underlying code and remove 9.3, or we can remove 9.3 now and slate to go back and fix the code to be more objective. And I would propose the latter, that we strike 9.3 now and slate to go back and revisit that code to make it more objective.
One thing to keep in mind is that if you keep 9.3 now, it can be amended later by resolution of the Planning Commission, whereas amending the code would require an ordinance recommendation by the planning commission to be approved and read into code by the city council. It's an easier route to amend the objective design standards.
You can also keep it, and if it's the landscaping or earthworks that are difficult right now to make objective, we could just say, you know, the director may also permit screening, you know, via landscaping or earthworks, provided that it achieves sufficient screening.
Okay, we can leave 9.3 in now, but let's please remember this code and
Do you want to,
agendize it to come back and revisit.
we want to leave it like this, or do you want to take the from public rights of way out? So, just thinking for, you know, yeah, a parking lot.
Yeah, actually, if we take from public rights of way out, I think we're good, right?
I think that's,
And then we don't have to revisit the code either.
I think it's good like this. I mean, the code should probably say something more like this, I think, but if we have, this is stricter, I think, than the code, and more objective than the code. I'm not saying we shouldn't update the code to be maybe more objective, but at least for this reason, or for this case, we're strengthening what we already have.
Yeah, if we take out from public rights of way, I think that this does what we really want it to do. Anything else in 9?
I do not.
Give me 1 second just to reread something. I had a question about 9.6. It's in the middle of the paragraph, that section. It reads, if any of these options is prohibited by applicable building, fire, electrical, or plumbing codes, an alternate option shall be used. I didn't remember us having a sort of option out without any further clarity. Maybe it needs to be or as approved by.
As
or
approved by
as approved by
The director.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, we provided this list of options for concealing, for example, water meter or water heater, gas meter, those types of equipment through the use of screening, landscaping, or painting. But I know there are limitations for certain equipment based on.
Yeah, don't paint your gas meter. You will not be happy.
You can paint it gray.
Yeah, exactly.
Question for staff here. If it's not allowed under the building, fire, electric, or plumbing code, then the remedy there is for the applicant to propose an alternative means and methods that's going to be approved by the building official, right? Not the planning director at that point.
That's a good point. Though I imagine the building official may defer the alternative to the approval of the planning department.
It's both, right? You both would, how about this? Yeah, that'll work. It's back to that sentence we don't like. the applicable reviewing body. All right, anything else?
So sorry, just to clarify, is that going to be director or reviewing authority?
Applicable reviewing body.
Okay.
Authority.
Sorry, applicable reviewing authority. Appendix A1, I had a question.
Mhm.
It says depth, recessed entries, 5 foot max behind building shop front line. Does that imply that you have to be recessed?
No.
Okay. Um,
I see we're missing a minimum on the height bulkhead. It's supposed to be 1.5 feet minimum, 2 feet max.
Yeah. So the building setback from the property line is 1.5 foot max.
If you have a shop front, yeah. If you're in the commercial zone, I presume you pretty much want everything to be right up to the sidewalk, just like every other shop front is.
Right. I guess that's the problem, is that we wanted it, well, but I guess we're going to address this shortly, aren't we? I would propose that we put this, it's the way we're changing it does the opposite. It dictates how far you can be. Where would these buildings would be in the commercial and the industrial zone? Is that right?
Yeah, it's permitted in commercial, manufacturing, and RHO,
RHO?
religious housing overlay.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Thank you. All right, I guess we can come back to this one because we can change this one without going to the city, without going to the city council. Awning depth of 6 foot minimum. So if I were to build Emmys today and I put an awning out over it, I would have to be all the way over the sidewalk to the parking. The awning would always stick out a minimum of 4.5 feet, right? Because you can set back 1.5 foot from the property line.
2 feet? Really? Yeah, I think that's been 6 feet.
So basically what we're saying is if you put an awning up, that it has to stick out over the I'm just using the example, real life examples here, right? None of our sidewalks are wider than 6 feet, so it's gonna stick out most of the way over the entire sidewalk.
Yeah, yeah, we could go to 4 if it's seems too much.
Well, it's 2 for residential, right? If we go like to 8, I don't know, a couple more down. Like A2 or A3, I forget the number, I don't.
Yeah, it is, well, for common entries, it's 2-foot minimum.
Right.
That just seems like an incredibly,
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, I did kind of know, like, in here, oh no, that's, yeah, so we got, what, 2 feet here, 2 feet minimum.
but that's for,
Is this, that has to be recessed 2 feet or 1.5 feet.
that's for the common entry though versus,
Right. But I don't know, if you're just sticking something out, why don't we just stick it out the same for everything?
I mean, I think like on Colorado Boulevard, maybe that a 6-foot awning makes total sense, right? But
Right.
I don't know that we
Say
have
our
anywhere.
our scale isn't.
Our scale
that.
is
Our
not the
scale
same,
is
yeah.
Downsized, so 3 feet.
Are you opposed to 2 so that
I'm-
it's
I'm
consistent?
opposed- Oh, no, I'll do 2. I'll do 2.
Yeah, I think 2, because there are other
Yeah.
ones too.
Yeah.
Or the ones 2?
Okay, yeah.
So let's-
2. Agreed.
3?
2.
2.
So that we're consistent.
Okay.
And then awning height. So it's, and maybe I don't understand shop front. Can shop front have a residence above it?
Yeah, the frontage standards just apply to the ground floor.
Okay. And if it doesn't have 2 stories,
Then there's no max, I guess. Yeah.
well, the max would be lower, right? Because it says
Well, there's no
9-foot
windows.
minimum, and if there's no highest or windowsill of the second, I mean, because that could be, I mean, it could be, you could set back the residential unit and have a patio over that shop front.
Yeah.
And that,
Right. Yeah, I mean, in that case, I think you would still look at it sort of in elevation, and you would still apply that.
okay. So under other standards, it says ground floor elevation shall be level with adjacent sidewalk. Going back to anything north of the boulevard on Baldwin, where is this measured? Is this at the midpoint, the high point, or the low point? Because we have
Yeah.
some hills here.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I think, at the entry would be the intent
Okay.
there.
Why don't we add that? Ground floor elevation shall be level with the adjacent sidewalk at the entry.
wonder if we should cut the note now that the minimum awning depth is only 2 feet.
Cut the height, you're saying? Because-
Remove the note, because the note allows it to be reduced, allows that depth to be reduced.
Oh.
Oh, because you're saying you could be lower if you're only 2 foot? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if the requirement's only 2 feet, I mean, presumably, people are not going to ask to reduce it to 1.
Well, if we're gonna,
It wouldn't make sense to have awning at that point.
less than 2 feet, yeah, you'd just be removing it.
Right, yeah.
But what if they wanted to, what if, I don't know, there's a weird reason for awning height? Like, I don't know why, but if there was a weird reason for, that we said, 9 feet is too far up because, I don't know, this tree or this.
Yeah, I mean, a great example is,
Single story or.
is there a minimum, there's a maximum depth for the door, right? It can't be more than 5, or it's got to be 5 feet? Never mind, that didn't work. I'm fine if we want to get rid of awning depth altogether. That's what you're recommending, is just getting rid of awning?
No, I was recommending get rid of the note. Where it says notes, the Planning and Community Preservation Department and Public Works Department may reduce
Oh,
the
got
allowed
it.
awning depth if warranted by local conditions.
Yeah, you're probably right. We could get rid of the notes.
No. Yeah, because that would, awning's not 6 feet.
Because we didn't even need to change it if we were going to leave it.
Oh, no, yeah, I was looking at the picture, and that looks like it's about 3 feet, so we had
Yeah.
a picture of 3 feet
Yeah.
saying it needs to be 6, so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
A2? Are you guys ready to go on?
Yeah, I'm ready to go on.
Why is there a setback? Oh, it's a minimum setback applicable to the zone. Why did we not do minimum setback applicable to the zone in A1?
I don't think you have front setbacks in those zones. I may be wrong, but I don't believe that's the case.
But then, I guess what I'm saying is that if we say minimum setback applicable to the zone, then when we change the zoning code, that's what will govern rather than this. Right?
Yeah, let's see. If the objective design standards is silent on an issue, then the code governs. But if the objective design standard specifies it, then the objective design standard governs. So the shop front says 0 feet minimum, so that would govern for shop front.
So we could really just remove the building setback from the property lines from both of those. The code is objective because it has an actual number in it. So this is not something that needs to be in the objective design standards, and we could leave it to the code to govern.
In terms of the minimum, but the code does not specify a maximum. So what we have added here, maximum setbacks for these various frontage types. again, to make sure they engage the street adequately, and it's a different amount given what frontage type it is.
Okay. Well, we can amend, it's easy for us to amend this when we do the other one and figure out if there's consistencies or inconsistencies that we need to deal with. So we'll take that then, unless there's an objection.
No. I mean, my problem was the planting width, but I think we're cleared that that's going to be covered under fire, not this. Because we are, making them put in 3 feet for plants.
Yeah, when the fire code is finalized for
Yeah.
0.
You just have to.
That can certainly be eliminated. It's actually something that we've had a lot of debate about whether requiring planning makes sense. I mean, in more urban conditions like in New York, obviously you'll see these
Right.
residential lobby buildings that are just straight up on the sidewalk. And
Right. I know. I get the setback part, and
Mhm.
I like the look of,
Yeah.
that, but unfortunately,
Yeah, and we can,
we can always mess with that.
yeah, it could also be changed to, I mean, I don't know if landscaping is better, but, allow it to be river rock or something in there. It's not
Right.
plants. DG.
anything else on A2?
Nope.
A3? The least ADA compliant designs I've ever seen.
Oh, I was curious. We're calling it a stoop. There's a 4-foot maximum. Why is there a minimum for a stoop? Like, is it just, I mean, I don't know. If we're at ground 0 is okay, but then we have to jump to 1.
It was for,
I don't know.
Hmm.
Is
I
that,
think it's for privacy, right? Isn't that-
Yeah, if you're at 0, then you have to be under the patio frontage type, which has other, it's going to require the wall around the edge, and so it's for privacy. Either you have it on your entry at grade, and you address the privacy by the setback and wall around a little entry
okay.
space, entry patio, or you
Or
address
the
it the
porch,
stoop
okay.
through the.
I was a little
vertical.
confused, not confused, but between the stoop, porch, and patio.
Well, and
I will say the stoop and porch, you need some level of indication that you're transitioning from public to semi-public to private space. So having that elevation transition indicates that, in addition to the privacy comments that Phil brought up.
and are the stairs considered public space?
I would
And the
consider them
stoop?
as, the stairs and stoop would be considered semi-public space.
Not from a legal standpoint.
Right.
From a design standpoint.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out why the stoop made it to the public, or, yeah, to the public spaces and not the private spaces.
Right.
'Cause I would think of a stoop as a private space.
Yeah, I guess the walk to the stairs is the semi-public, and then once you're on the steps and the stoop, you become into a semi-private space because
It's reinforced by all those movies where you have lots of people on the stoop in New York. So I think it sounds
Right.
transitional to me.
yeah.
That's a bed to some. All right.
And so the stoop cannot have solid walls. So those have to be handrails. Those can't be walls, right?
I don't think we've prohibited that.
Well, a handrail is 42 inches high. And if that's, right, so that would be on an 8-foot wall, that would be like 43%. And the limit's 35%, right?
Sorry, you're referring to the transparency?
Yeah, to the transparency.
Okay.
So code handrail is 42 inches, right? So if you
Yeah.
made the wall to 40, if you made those walls instead of handrails, then they wouldn't be transparent, right?
The transparency is measured as you look at the entire ground floor facade of the building in elevation
Gotcha. Okay,
as a percentage of the area.
got it. Okay.
That's transparent.
Oh.
So it's really about how many windows you have between all
That
of
doesn't
those.
include the stoop. The
Ye-
third
Well,
one.
yeah, presumably the stoop itself is not going to be highly transparent.
Well, it's gonna be zero transparent, right?
Yeah, I mean, unless you have glass in the door or something, you know, but it's looking at the building facade.
Okay.
All right, anything else? Should we move on to porches?
Yeah.
Okay, so to that last question about transparency on the ground floor, is that the facade wall or is that the entire elevation as you're looking at it?
It's the ground floor facade wall. So if you go to the definitions, it'll say how the transparency is measured.
Okay. Anybody have anything for porches?
No, I'm just trying to make sure they're all kind of the same.
Patios? Surface parking? Let me ask this another way. Who has more comments?
So, I think my comment was just more like, so we have A5. Can we just go back up to that real quick? So we have a landscape strip of 2 feet minimum with a patio. What if we go to like A2, where we got a stoop? It's or was it, or here, sorry, this one, it's like 3 feet minimum, 20, I don't know. They just all seem different. I don't know why they all have to be so different.
I think that other one has a maximum, whereas the patio does not, but it's also 2 foot.
It's 2 feet.
Yeah, I mean, the common entry could be 2 feet. I mean, that's not really a big deal, but it's, the common entry is going to be used for higher density buildings, right? That you enter through a lobby.
So a
And-
bigger scale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good reason.
Hmm.
Any other comments on,
No, just one I noticed, because I went to try and define all these terms. So I went and found stoop and I found porch, but I didn't find patio. I don't know. I think if we're going to define stoop and porch, maybe we should just define patio.
it's C2 in Appendix C.
Oh, maybe I missed it. It's C2?
Appendix
I don't-
C,
Well, it's in a,
I just
yeah,
looked at
it's
the
an open
definitions.
space. A patio is also an open space type. Yeah.
Where's it in the?
As is a porch, actually. Porch is
in
C5.
Appendix C,
Yeah.
it's page.
Oh, it's there. Okay.
But
Sorry, I looked in the definitions.
Yeah, but to that point, does it
Look
make
at
sense to consolidate all the definitions within the definition section?
Because porch is in there.
It's a good question. Either they should all be in there, or they should all be referred to the appendix where the, because defining them,
Yeah.
I'd have to look at the definitions, but if we have an entire appendix page dedicated to each one of these types, it seems like that should be the definition of them.
Right, and just take them out of definitions.
Or
I'll say that in
just
the open space types, this kind of descriptor at the top is, it's a definition, but it's also kind of an intent or why. You know, like for their C1 balconies, that second sentence says it serves as an extension of the home, bringing the outdoors in without requiring a yard, making it ideal for urban living conditions. That's not really a definition.
Well, it says it has to be 6 foot wide and 15, or sorry, 6 foot deep and 15 foot wide for patios. Like that's kind of definitional.
Well, and I want to be clear on patios, within Appendix C, C2, those dimensions are for it to count towards your minimum open space requirement.
So you could have a
So-
patio that's smaller. It won't.
You could have a patio that's smaller as long as you're not using it to satisfy your requirement.
But do we need porches as C5 and then porches, or sorry, porch as a definition in D also?
Yeah, we could probably remove it
Because,
from
patio's not in there. So it's just inconsistent.
definition.
I mean, we should either have them both in there or all of it in there or none of them in there.
Patio's not a definition in D.
Patio's not a definition in D, but porch is.
Yep.
But they're both definition, well, they're both types of open space explained in C. Stoop is a definition, but it's not a type of open space in C. So,
Just to avoid confusion, it's probably easier not to define something twice.
yeah.
Um, Sorry, wanted to point something out, but I'm moving around the document inappropriately. Let's see. I was just having was having trouble tying out the references for Appendix A 8.7, where it says other standards. It says structured parking garage frontage is taller than 20 feet if allowed shall be screened or enhanced as described in 3.15, and I couldn't make that reference work, and I'm not sure that the same thing might be, but maybe it's been a few hours, but I think maybe the same issue for the reference on the surface parking other standards A6
Hmm,
referencing
yeah.
section 410, maybe something got updated along the way and the
Yeah.
section references dropped.
Yep. Yeah, we probably should scrub the whole thing once more.
Yeah, yeah.
Because actually, we're going to be eliminating some standards now and renumbering again. Everything.
I do have a quick question for staff. Which locations can these be in right now? In like what parts of town? I know it's like our commercial district, our industrial district. Just
So yes, those districts plus the multifamily residential zone districts, R313, R320, and R330, and the religious housing overlays as well.
okay.
And that is generally Baldwin, most of the way up to the top. A fair amount of Highland,
Right.
extending out from Baldwin, right?
And Esperanza.
Esperanza,
Esperanza, Suffolk, obviously the west part of Sierra Madre Boulevard, and portions of Montecito. Actually, I could just look at the zoning map.
yeah, and
Okay.
that was going to be something I thought of too. I don't think any of the commissioners have gotten updated zoning maps in a while.
It
So,
hasn't been updated in quite a while, but yeah, I can definitely send.
yeah, I think the last time they were handed out was before any of the commissioners before myself were here. So we should probably get them all a copy of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Suffolk, portions of Mariposa, portions of Montecito, north of Highland, there's Victoria Lane, portions of Mountain Trail, portions of Laurel that are east of Baldwin.
Okay.
And there's one small parcel, not small, just kind of one carve out for East Sierra Madre Boulevard.
Yeah. Okay. No, my only mental concern of that is just it's the rooftop decks. I know because 2-3 years ago we had somebody wanting to put basically a rooftop deck on their house, and it could kind of peer into the neighboring house. Whereas a rooftop deck might be more appropriate for something located on Sierra Madre Boulevard, not looking into somebody's backyard. It may not be that somewhere else. So by creating this, are we basically having no say about something like that in the future? That was my only concern.
Yeah, that was a subjective concern that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I heard in the definitions that we were going to take out the ones that have an exhibit of their own. So that would be porch. Oh, I should probably start on the A's. Was porch the only one that was in
I
there?
think it's the only one that,
Okay.
because the stoop isn't an outdoor space.
Stoop's defined in there
And-
too, so porch and stoop.
Well, but stoop isn't defined anywhere else.
Stoop's got a whole page.
Does it? Oh, maybe I
That's
missed.
A3.
Oh,
I think it was A3.
oh, sorry, I missed that. Eh.
Yeah, A3.
Yeah, then we could take that out.
There are things in the definitions which probably would need to be added then back into the standards pages. For example,
Yeah,
the porch definition says it's open
Yeah,
on at least two sides, I think, so.
yeah, just make the one, if there's something in this, I mean, literally a
Three
sentence
sides,
that needs to be in the other half of a page, I think we could pretty easily add
Yeah.
that in there.
Right. And on your question on rooftop decks, I actually, since you brought that up, I see there's a number missing in B11 rooftop decks under size. It says maximum, and then it's missing a percentage of total roof area for projects in house scale zones, 75% of total roof area for projects in block scale zones. Because I know we had a discussion with city staff about this and whether rooftop decks should even be allowed in house scale zones at all. And I think we settled on allowing it, but having it a pretty restrictive percentage. And I apologize, looks like that number
Minimum same
somehow
as
deleted.
terraces and decks. Maximum.
But it might have been 25% or something like that.
I have no objection whatsoever to confining rooftop decks to the block scale.
Me neither.
Okay, we can eliminate it then.
What do you, Commissioner?
I'm fine with it.
Okay, yeah, so let's make the rooftop decks confined to block scale.
Yeah.
It's a great point, and that
No,
takes care
I
of it.
like that.
Did you have something else you wanted to point out?
Are we going to continue on to Appendix E?
If you have things in Appendix E, let's get there.
I raised this 2 meetings ago, and I'll raise it again for discussion. I looked at, not being an expert in this area, I looked at a number of different cities' ODS, and I didn't find any other city including what I'll call their rationale / workings to get to their final ODS. I believe the intent to include this here is to provide applicants an alternate path, as I understood it, through the process. But I'm wondering if that's really needed here, and or whether, because we have this nice document that's finalized, and yet we're including a very lengthy appendix that's very difficult to read, that has all the maturations through all the great work that our presenters are going through. But I just don't think it belongs in a final ODS document.
Right.
If we want to provide applicants background on the path, I'm wondering if this could be a separate document that could be maintained in the department and available to applicants if they want to understand how we ended up with our final ODS, but I just don't think it belongs in the final document.
I can't believe I didn't realize and notice that it was Appendix E. I just thought it was basically something that was included for us to know where everything came from. So I'm in full agreement that we have a nice, I mean, what are we at, 39? So we got another, what, 30 pages of this to go? That's about, I don't think the everything, but I think Appendix E is larger than everything else combined.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's fine.
Do you have a comment, Mr. City Attorney?
I don't have any opposition to what Commissioner Brennan said. I would say if it's possible to keep some kind of, and maybe we add it to Appendix E where we're keeping track of every time this gets amended over time. So to track that, here were the planning commissions where it was discussed, here's a city council meeting where it was adopted, and then in the future, it was amended at this planning commission meeting, further amended at this planning commission meeting, and just an ongoing list, so that there's a trail that we could follow in case it we need to refer back to it. Because this is a complex document, it'll evolve, and it'll be helpful to track that evolution.
yeah, so where we have, like, even Appendix E is like the history, and then Appendix F is like the original, objective design standards research memorandum.
I look at that
Available on-
as,
upon
I
request.
agree with what you just said. I just think it's a separate, this is, Appendix E is is the working effort to get to the actual original ODS that's going to be adopted for the first time. And that's just my, and I agree, like having a tracking history somewhere of revisions made post initial adoption makes sense
Right.
to me. But, and again, I think this should be, stored in the planning department somewhere, I would think. but
Right.
I just don't think it belongs in the ODS
Yeah, I don't think
document
it needs it.
itself.
Yeah, so I would propose changing Appendix E to be the record of the ODS.
Yeah.
Anything else? I'm sure you've been making these changes real time, and by the time I get home, I'll have a copy.
Right, it's already, I think it's already in my inbox.
All right, so if everybody's happy with that, then I guess we did continue over the municipal code text amendment to this? I thought we completed it, right? So then, really, we're looking for a motion to adopt as amended the objective design standards.
Chair, the resolution that was presented last meeting regarding the municipal code text amendment has since been amended to remove a section relating to the adoption of the objective design standards and been placed in this new resolution 2608 for your consideration. So there will be two resolutions that combine into one as a recommendation to adopt an ordinance that both include the municipal code text amendments and the adoption and incorporation of the Sierra Madre objective design standards.
Okay. So we need to approve 2602? Is that what you're saying?
2608.
I think, I forgot my glasses. I think it's this.
So municipal code text amendment 2602 has already been recommended through resolution 2606.
Say that in there, but I think.
Okay.
And resolution 2608, and I believe it's section 3, which is the recitals of the incorporation and adoption recommendation to city council of the Sierra Madre objective design standards. I'll defer, I may defer to city attorney on the wording for the motion.
Yeah, I'll note that it seems like we didn't include,
In my,
yeah, we,
in my packet, there's a
right,
608.
right. It's just on the agenda itself, it doesn't include the 2608, but considering it's all part of the same item, I think it's an error we can probably overlook. And if we get a Brown Act letter in the future, then we'll address it at a future meeting.
Well,
2608.
I'll make a motion to approve Planning Commission Resolution 2608 as discussed this evening.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Really want to thank staff and our consultants for all the amazing work that you've done here. Thank you. All right, next up, thank you. Next up, reports from Planning Commission.
Nothing.
Reports from city staff.
Chair Dennison, for our next meeting on June 18th, we'll be reviewing the general plan update for conservation and open space element. And also, we'll be agendizing the rotation of chair and vice chair. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Anything else from anybody? All right, then we will adjourn to our next regularly scheduled meeting of June 18th.